You are standing in a glass elevator 41 floors above Manhattan, and the woman beside. You will not stop staring at the black card in your hand as if it might combust. Neither of you speaks. The doors had opened on the ground floor to a receptionist who called your name before you gave it, and now, rising in silence past a city that looks like scattered embers, you understand that whatever is about to happen has already been decided. You just don't know the ending yet. 3 weeks earlier, you were folding towels at a laundromat on Delancey Street when a man, in a gray overcoat, asked if your name was Odessa Rourke. He didn't wait for an answer. He handed you an envelope, tipped his hat, and disappeared into foot traffic before you could ask a single question. Inside was a letter, typed unsigned, requesting your presence at an address you didn't recognize, on a date that happened to be your late mother's birthday. You almost threw it away. You almost didn't go. But something about the paper heavy, creamcolor, the kind used for wedding invitations or eviction notices, nothing in between, made you fold it back into its envelope and keep it in your coat pocket for 9 days before you finally decided to find out what kind of trouble was worth this much stationery. The elevator stops. The doors slide open onto a room with no windows, only screens, dozens of them, showing footage you don't understand yet. Parking lots, hospital corridors, a diner, somewhere with rain streaking the window. A woman named Priscilla Ashford greets you both, with a clipboard and a smile that never reaches her eyes. And she explains, in the clean, rehearsed cadence of someone who has said these words many times before, that you and 2 other women have been selected for what she calls an experiment in character. She does not explain who selected you. She does not explain why. She only explains the rules. For 30 days, each of you will carry a card with no spending limit, no oversight, no restrictions of any kind. You may buy a house. You may buy nothing. What you do with the money is entirely your decision, and at the end of 30 days, one of you will be asked to stay. Stay? For what, you ask? Priscilla only smiles again and tells you that will become clear. You leave that room with the card in your wallet that could purchase a small country, and the peculiar, hollow feeling of having been chosen for a reason nobody will name. You think of your mother in her final year, the medical bills that arrived faster than grief could, the second job you took, cleaning offices at 4 in the morning just to keep the lights on. You think about what a card like this could have meant back then, and some old, stubborn part of you, the part your mother raised, refuses to let that thought turn into greed. The first week, you spend almost nothing. You pay off your own modest debts, nothing extravagant, just breathing room, and you sit with the card in a drawer like it might be radioactive. You don't know that Marlo Quintrell, one of the other 2 women, has already booked a first-class flight to Monaco. You don't know that Delphine Voss has purchased 4 handbags, a car she doesn't know how to drive, and a bottle of champagne that cost more than your mother's headstone. You don't know these things because nobody tells you. You are simply living your life, waiting for the trap you're certain exists to reveal its teeth. It reveals itself on a Tuesday in the rain, outside a pharmacy on 9th Avenue. An old man is sitting on the curb, soaked through a paper bag of what looks like his entire life, crumpling in the downpour beside him. People step around him the way people step around anything unpleasant in a city that has trained them to. You almost do the same, but something about the way he's shivering, the particular defeat in his shoulders, stops your feet. Before your mind agrees to it, you crouch down. You ask if he's all right. He looks up at you with pale, tired eyes and tells you, in a voice scraped thin by weather and years, that he hasn't eaten since yesterday, that his knees won't let him stand without help, that he used to have somewhere to go and doesn't anymore. You don't think about the card in your pocket as a test. You think about him as a person. You help him up. You walk him into the pharmacy, buy him a dry shirt from the little rack near the register, sit him down in the diner 2 doors over, and order him whatever he wants twice. Because he eats like someone who has learned not to trust that food will still be there in 5 minutes. He tells you his name is Ambrose. You tell him yours. You give him cash from your own pocket. not the card. Because something in you insists this moment shouldn't be paid for by a stranger's fortune. You sit with him for 40 minutes past when you needed to leave, and when you finally do, you press a piece of paper into his hand with your number on it, and you tell him to call if he needs anything else. Anything at all. You don't notice the black sedan parked across the street, engine running, man inside with a camera lens angled precisely at the diner window. You don't notice 3 days later, when you feel the unmistakable prickle of being watched, a stranger holding eye contact a beat too long on the subway, a car that seems to idle near your building more than coincidence should allow. You tell yourself it's nerves. You tell yourself 30 days of paranoia will do that to anyone. You do not yet know that every purchase on your card, every transaction, every hesitation is being logged, studied, discussed in a room you've never seen, by people compiling a picture of who you are when you believe no one is looking. On day 16, you find something strange in your account, an unexplained deposit, absurd in size, labeled only as contingency. No note, no explanation. It sits there for 2 days like a loaded question, and you understand, somewhere in your gut, that this is the actual test. Not the spending, not the restraint, but this. An amount of money large enough to disappear a person's conscience, deposited with no fingerprints attached, waiting to see if you'll quietly let it vanish into your own life or report it. You call Priscilla's office. You tell them there's been an error. You are met with silence on the other end of the line. And then, finally, a voice that isn't Priscilla's, older, careful, almost amused, tells you the money was never an error at all. You don't sleep well after that call. On day 22, you see Ambrose again, not on a curb this time, sitting on a bench near the park, cane across his lap, watching pigeons with the patience of a man who is nowhere urgent to be. You sit beside him without thinking twice. He asks how your month has been. You tell him honestly that it's been strange, that you feel like you're being tested for something you don't understand, that you almost wish you'd never opened that envelope. He listens the way people rarely listen anymore, without waiting for his turn to speak. And then he asks you a question that unsettles you more than anything that's happened so far. If you had unlimited money, and no one would ever know what you did with it, what kind of person would you become? You tell him you'd like to think you'd become exactly who you already are. He smiles at that, a small, private smile, like you've confirmed something he already suspected. He doesn't tell you why it matters. He simply stands, slower than a man his age should have to, and tells you he'll see you soon. You watch him go and feel, for the first time, that the ground beneath this entire month has shifted into something far larger than you originally understood. 3 days later, the letter arrives. Not an envelope this time, but a car, black, silent, waiting outside your building at 7 in the morning with a driver who says only that you're expected. You are taken 40 minutes outside the city to a house that doesn't look like a house so much as a monument. Iron gates parting for you like the sea, and inside, in a study, lined with books that look older than the country itself, you find Marlowe and Delphine already seated, both wearing the particular tension of people who suspect they've already lost something they didn't know they were playing for. And then a door opens, and Ambrose walks in. Except he isn't Ambrose. Not in this room, not in this suit, not with this posture, straight-backed and sharp-eyed in a way the man on the curb never was. Priscilla introduces him with a title you already suspect before she says it: Thaddeus Wren, founder of a financial empire that touches half the industries in this country. A man whose face you'd seen in magazines years ago and never once connected to a stranger crying in the rain on 9th Avenue. He apologizes for the deception, though his voice makes clear he isn't sorry at all, only satisfied. He explains that the cards, the money, the 30 days of unlimited spending, none of it was ever the actual test. It was theater, elaborate and expensive theater, designed to relax you into believing the experiment was about restraint, about how you'd behave with wealth. The real test, he says, was smaller than all of it. It was a man on a curb in the rain. It was whether wealth would make you walk faster past someone who needed you, or weather. It would make you kneel down. Delphini's face goes pale. She had walked past him twice, in fact, on 2 separate days too, occupied with a boutique appointment to notice an old man shivering on a sidewalk. Marlo hadn't walked past him at all. She'd called security on him outside a hotel, annoyed that his presence might lower the tone of wherever she happened to be standing. Only you had stopped. Thaddeus tells you then what none of you had known, that the deposit, the unexplained contingency fund, had appeared in all 3 accounts, not just yours. Delphine transferred hers immediately to an offshore account the following morning. Marlo used part of hers to buy her way out of a parking violation through a private fixer. You were the only one who called to report it, the only one who treated found money as a problem rather than a windfall. He tells you, quietly now, that this experiment wasn't born from idle curiosity. Years ago, his wife collapsed on a sidewalk not unlike the one you found him on, and for 11 minutes, dozens of people walked past her before a stranger finally stopped. By the time help arrived, it was too late to matter. He has spent every year since wondering what kind of person stops, and what kind keeps walking, and whether that difference can be found before it costs someone everything. Then comes the detail that turns your knees to water. He tells you your mother's name. He tells you that 11 years ago, an anonymous donor covered the remainder of her hospital bill during her final month, a debt that had, until that moment, seemed destined to bury you. Along with her, you had always wondered who that donor was. You are looking at him now. He explains, gently, that he didn't choose you by accident. He'd been quietly following the outcome of small kindnesses he'd funded for years, curious whether they created ripples or simply vanished. Yours never vanished. You built a life from that mercy instead of merely surviving it. And when his search for someone to inherit not just his fortune, but the responsibility behind it began, your name surfaced from records he'd never expected to revisit. He offers you a position that isn't a job, so much as a covenant. Control of a foundation built to find people exactly like the version of yourself that knelt down in the rain, and give them what you were once given, before grief could turn it into ruin. Delphine and Marlo are thanked for their participation and shown out with checks that are generous but final doors, closing behind them with a softness that somehow feels louder than if they'd slammed. You sit alone with Thaddeus Wren in a study that smells like old paper and older regret, and you finally ask him the question that has been sitting in your chest since the elevator. Why go through all of it? The theater, the disguise, the deception, when he could have simply asked who you were. He tells you that money reveals nothing about a person's character. It only reveals what they do when they believe no one important is watching. And you, he says, were the only one who never checked to see if anyone was. Outside, the rain has started again, soft against the windows of a house larger than any place your mother ever dreamed of. And you think of an old man on a curb who asked for nothing but kindness and turned out to be carrying an entire fortune's worth of grief in his coat pocket. You think about how the truest tests in life rarely announce themselves. They arrive disguised as inconvenience, as a stranger's bad day, as 40 extra minutes you didn't plan on spending. And somewhere beneath the disbelief of everything that has just unfolded, you understand, with the certainty that settles deep in your chest, that you didn't pass this test today. You passed it years ago on a sidewalk, long before you ever knew you were being watched.
The real test in life is not how much money you have, it is what you do when someone needs you and no one's watching. If this story moves you, subscribe for more stories that remind us what truly matters. Stay kind, and I will see you in the next one.